This is Kevin Pruitt with another episode of Rising Tide Startups, and my special guest today is Vonnie Lee. Vonnie, thank you for joining us on Rising Tide.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So please share a little bit about Vonnie Lee to our Rising Tide listeners.
Oh, okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Vonnie Lee. I am a professional voiceover artist. I do lots of corporate and video voiceovers for mainly the virtual reality and augmented reality field. So yeah, that's basically my business.
So give us a little background, family, where you live in, education, just fill in the blanks for us.
Oh God, yeah. Okay, so that's a lot. That's a lot to cover.
There you go.
I'm from London. My family are originally from Malaysia. I've got 2 kids. We now live in Leicestershire, where I live with. I kind of share the children with my ex-partner. Oh gosh, education, just completely normal upbringing, really. I schooled when I was younger in Malaysia, which is a very American education system. And then I came over to the UK during secondary school and then continued my higher education in the UK. So I've got quite a kind of broad understanding of different education types, because I've also lived in Europe. So we've lived in Germany and in Spain for a few years, and my daughter has been in that education system there. So yeah, it's very interesting. I never used to be a huge I suppose advocate of academia, if you like, but now I think things are changing whereby people need something like a baseline to set their standards up against.
Yeah.
And you do have to start somewhere.
Right.
Because everyone has degrees and everyone has some sort of higher education. Whereas 25 years ago, if you didn't, it wouldn't really matter. But I don't know, I think things are really changing in that sense. So yeah, that's kind of me and my background. I've been running my voiceover business coming up to my 4th year now. I do some other bits on the side. I do trade on the side as well, and I run a very small, coaching, mentoring kind of another kind of side business too. So yeah, we're busy.
It sounds like it. And you said you were traveling just until, you literally just returned today.
Yes, yeah, it was just a day trip, overnight trip. Saw an old ex-colleague of mine who back in my advertising agency days, we used to work very, very closely together when we worked on digital. It was just lovely. It's just nice to catch up, and after all these years, seeing how things have changed, and funnily enough, how things still haven't changed. There's a lot of I don't know. I guess over the years, as you run a business and as you hop in and out of being self-employed and then back into employment or even consulting, you always get a feel of what's going on in business, and business fundamentals don't ever change. You need customers, you need sales. How do you track them? How do you have standout? So those things never change. It's just the kind of avenues, the platforms, and how you reach your customers. That's where it's different, and that's where you have to be innovating. So yeah, it was lovely. It was lovely to see her, and it feels nice being able to get out my booth for once as well. You can imagine when you're in a kind of 4 foot by 4 foot box for the majority of your day. Normally I'm patched into a client, so a little bit like what you and I are doing right now. I've got my headphones on and we're back and forth, but it's still like physically quite kind of isolating. Mm-hmm. So it's nice just to get out, to be able to talk shop and be out in a restaurant and things like that.
So walk us through this amazing transition that you obviously didn't go to uni with the idea that I'm going to be a voiceover artist. So no. What was kind of the what happened? What was that magic lightning bolt that struck that said, "Wow, I could do children's books." So.
Well, we talked a little bit about this when we were off air. There wasn't a lightning bulb. It's been like just this compounding journey, of networking, of business. So I left employment with anybody back in 2004. So I was, oh God, I can't remember. 23, 24. Yeah, hang on, is that right? How long does that go? 15 years. How old am I now?
Yeah, 15 years ago. Yeah.
Yes, that's about right, isn't it? How old does that make me then? My math is so bad. Oh no, longer. Okay, so longer ago. So that gives you an idea of how old I am. And I started an e-commerce company, wholesaling jewelry. So that's where I really learnt my foundation in business, because things were just coming up in terms of digital. You could still bid on keywords that were quite popular for 20 cents, 30 cents. You can't do that anymore these days. So that had this like compounding effect in terms of, I always knew from then on, when I made that move, I was never going to work for anyone ever again. I just knew it. And I don't know whether, if anyone's watching this, you're like, oh my God, that's me as well. Just don't want to have a boss. Don't like clock watching.
I'm sure there's many watching thinking that very thing.
Yeah, but it's not like this. You know how we don't like something, but you still get on with it? It's not like that. It's this absolute like grind against your grain. It's not even I don't like it. It's I can't do this. It's just so not me. So when I made that move, I just knew, I don't care what happens from here on end, I'm never going back into employment. And that's all has always stayed with me. And I think that's always been the driver. So I went from that business, and then we traveled around Europe. So I sold that business and then started doing more creative stuff. I was a makeup artist for a little while. I did some fashion work for a while, and then, started our family. So it was just, doing bits and pieces here and there. And I've always freelanced. It's just something, I have a lot of friends who run their own businesses. And I think that's also something else too. I don't think I would have continued having different businesses, trying this, trying that, if I wasn't hanging around with people also in that same boat. I think if I had lots of friends all in employment, I would also feel a bit, that's probably the norm. I should just go back to work. But all my friends have their own businesses, one way or the other. So it just felt like a normal thing. If that didn't work, you try something else. If that doesn't work, you try something else. They generally all work, or they're okay, and you get a little bit bored with it, so you just move on to something else. But it was never like a thing. And I don't know. So with the voiceover work, again, I was freelancing for a few clients of mine. I was doing marketing, sales, writing, again, a lot of the agency stuff that I've always done. And because of the whole explosion in, self-promotion and promotional marketing, video work has been very, very popular with a lot of SMEs. So it was literally one client who was in a situation where he had to deliver something. He didn't have the resources or the means. And, we were having a conversation, and I just said, listen, it doesn't sound that difficult. If just talking over a video, let me try it. And if it doesn't work, you don't lose anything. It was free. And he said, okay, fine. He had nothing to lose. So I delivered that over a weekend. I was crazy kind of YouTubing, because after I said it, I was thinking, gosh, I don't know much about voicing over videos. I'm not really that techie, and do I need a mic? And oh my goodness, what did I, get myself into? But he was in such a situation, and that was it. I delivered it on a Monday, and he was like, oh, thanks. Send it to the client. The client liked it, and it literally
Bob's your uncle.
It really was. That's how it started. Then he gave me more, and then he recommended me to a second client. And as it went on for a few weeks, that's when I decided, okay, I can't keep doing this work for free, because it's taking its time. I was still doing the marketing, and I was still doing some writing. But then I thought, I can't charge for this because I'm not trained. I don't even know what I'm doing. So that's when I thought, okay, if I'm going to continue to offer the service to my client, because he's happy, the client's happy, but I need to charge for my time. But I can't charge unless I feel like I'm in a position where I can I can be confident and know that, yeah, I've invested in this. So that's literally how it got the ball rolling. And that was literally 4 years ago. So I write less and less. I still do write, but a lot less than I used to. I did maybe one video script this week. And yeah, the rest of my work is voiceover work. And whenever I have a window, I'll stick a day trade on. I'll open a footsie trade for the day, make my money work harder. And that's it. That's literally my kind of working day. And I love it. I because I have the freedom to do what I want.
Is there formal training for voiceover artists? Is there a certificate that you get from some voiceover guild or something that says, yeah, I can now charge for this and I have this certificate that I can display on my website type thing? Is there kind of the International Association of Voiceover Artists?
Yeah, it's a good question. In the States, it's very different from here in the UK. So there's non-union versus union type voiceover artists. And the people that are in the unions, they are normally actors and actresses, singers, musicians. They're already in the creative industry and they already have that sort of background. There's not really anything like that in the UK. There are obviously companies who offer training with their own certification, but there isn't like a guild or a board.
Mm-hmm.
Not as far as I know anyway, unless something's been set up recently. So, and I think that's why the space is quite interesting, because lots and lots of new voiceovers are coming in because it's a lucrative business. It's good money, seemingly with no entry barriers. They don't need to be anything. You can just, like me, you can just one day just get loads of work or not, and decide, oh, this is what I want to do. Or I'm an actress, an actor. Be great little side hustle. I'm doing my audition. Why not set myself up with a mic? And off I go. But it is a double-edged sword, because the entry level, the entry point, you can enter from anywhere. But that also means you get everybody doing this. So for a client, it's like,
sure.
Well, how do I benchmark who's good, who's not good?
Right.
And voiceover is in the space exactly like that at the moment, where the really good ones and the ones who are dedicated, who do it full time, finding it really hard to cut through all the noise because it's so competitive, and massive. It is just this massive influx, like a river of new voiceovers. Everyone is so talented. I was speaking to a voiceover who I had a call with last week, and I said, listen, we're all nice and we're all talented and we're all reliable. So what else do you have? Let's take it from there, because you can't say to your client, well, I'm nice, I'm reliable, I have this. Listen, we're all like that. So you need to find something else, and that something else has to be about you and your background, your history. Because I think us as human beings, whenever we shift into a different mindset and a different position, we really like to drop our old self, don't we?
Right.
Because we've transformed, we've changed. We don't want to carry anything about us forward. Oh, no, I don't do that anymore. This is me now. But actually, there's so much value in your history and in your background that someone else doesn't have. And that's your standout. And voiceovers right now, it's so competitive that people are forgetting that actually, if you have an engineering background, or if you have a theatre background, or if you have, whatever background, that works for you. You shouldn't just be like, well, no, I'm a voiceover now, I don't do that anymore. Like me, I have a writing background. My voiceover work complements my writing work. It's just that one's taken off much further than the other, and I'm only one person. So
can you look back though and say, okay, so my background was writing, but can you look back at even, times in school? Were you involved in productions? Hey, for my parents, I'm going to put on a play at home.
Yeah, well, this is going to make you laugh, because I don't know whether you have, at the age of 16 in the States, you have careers advisor meetings. Do you have that?
It depends on the high school setting, and okay. Yes, but yeah, we do have counselors that are kind of walking you through that. But in the UK, you're heading into A levels there, so it's like, right. You still have 2 years of high school left here, so.
But at 16, at 15, 16, what happens is career advisors come in, and you have a meeting with them every so often, because supposedly at 15, 16, we need to know what we want to do for the rest of our lives, which is just, you think back and think, this is crazy. You cannot ask a 16-year-old who's never traveled, never known life. Oh, so what would you?
We've had those conversations at home. Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy. So I remember sitting down in front of mine, and he said, "Oh, we need to make a decision. What you're going to do with your life." And I remember saying, "I want to be famous." Because famous for what? I don't know, and I don't care. I want the fame. And he just looked at me like I was insane. He was like, "Okay, right, drop out." I had no idea what he wrote in my file, but I had no idea. But you're right, because exactly like what you said, somewhere in the background, when you're a child, you do have an inkling for, showmanship or detail, or, if someone's really into crafts and, something that really takes a lot of detail, you'll find that your character, you've always been like that. I don't think you suddenly become, you just don't suddenly become an actress. You don't suddenly become dramatic and real extroverted and real. I think it's something that's always been inside you. I've just been lucky and unlucky in a way, because it's taken so long. It's taken so long to find something that I really feel so natural and in the flow when I'm
Right.
voicing over. And you imagine 8 hours, 6 hours in the day, I'm on my own talking to myself. It's not a very glamorous job, but it has this really glamorous impression to it because of the work that you see afterwards.
If you tell somebody that that's what you do for a living, I talk to myself for 6 to 8 hours a day, they're going to ask you to go on meds.
That's
So,
right. That's
or
right.
you're a voiceover artist, or one of the two. So there's kind of a famous like Steve Jobs quote talking about, there's actually a podcast in the UK called Join Up Dots that talks about this very thing, that it's hard to see things, looking forward, but you can always look back and see how the dots have virtually joined up, in this kind of, meandering, roadmap, so to speak, that has led you to this very point. And it sounds like to me that, you can kind of, I saw a smile come to your face when you were thinking about that, thinking back kind of over that journey. But so tell me today, so have you progressed in your business to the point that virtually business is coming to you now, that you just are kind of, you through referrals or through prior clients or things like that you're just saying, okay, now I'm really just getting to be a little more selective on the things that I decide to do, and versus just, I'll take anything and I'll do this for free until I can build up my business. So where are you today?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how, or what's kind of accelerated me getting here, because I know from speaking to a few people that I'm in a very fortunate situation. But yeah,
I know how, because you're brilliant.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Really, really good. I mean, believe me, I stalked you on Facebook as we were in some groups together, and I thought, because as you would post things, I would, listen to the clips and see the clip. I'm thinking, her voice is stunning, and the way that she can kind of move and transition from, different characters. I thought I got to have her on the show. So that's exactly why I'm glad she agreed to do that. So
I can thank my singing coach for that, because she's the one who's really developed my voice. My voice wasn't like that when I started. But that's the other thing that people don't realize either. I think if they have like a dream career in their mind, they think that they have to be ready before they can begin. You don't. You can just begin, and you get ready as you go along. If I had waited till I got to this stage, I wouldn't have had all those hours of work and practice. And, I don't charge what I charge back then 3 years ago. And I don't have the same clients. I don't take on the small projects anymore, because my time working with a client is much longer now than the kind of, 5-minute quick email here and there. We collaborate for a lot longer on bigger projects now. But if I'd waited all that time, I would have missed out on 3 years of loads of experience. Forget the voice work and the audio work, but, the engineers that I've talked to, the clients that I've connected with. Like I said, I work a lot in the virtual reality and augmented reality space. So I learn every day about the new tech stuff that's coming out. I just did a whole new smart home system for a real estate company in Florida. who's fitting, you know, voice activated controls in their homes, or me. And it's like, oh God, that feels so good. You know, my ego is so massaged. You know, but these things I would have missed out on if I thought, well, I've got to be ready before I go and reach out. You know, I was ready enough. Well, in fact, I wasn't even ready. I just thought, you kind of have to have, I don't know whether it's ego or whether it's bravery or courage or whatever you want to call it. Maybe a mix of both. I think a little bit of self-belief, and what's the worst that can happen? They're just going to say no, right?
Well, we're going to circle back with that later, because I love what you just said about the, you know, kind of the, you know, not waiting until you're ready type thing. So in our micro course section, and I know you're going to touch on a little bit of just about, you know, kind of a common thread, but let's circle back on that too. But I really want to drill down a little deeper right now, just, you know, kind of get in your head a little bit. So who online would you say really was an inspiration to you as you were kind of getting started, or was a little further down the road, that was somebody that
you know, I'm going to be very, very honest with you. I purposely did no market research and looked at nobody in the first year, because I knew if I did, I would not carry on, because they were so good, so talented. You know, these are people who have acted for 25 years. They've won awards. They've been on stage. They've done speeches. Can't compare myself. Can't compete with that. That would have just made me go boom, boom, boom. Oh no, forget it. I'm never going to make it. So I knew how competitive things were, but my focus was, I will service the clients as they come. I will take the work to self-promote, and I will reach to another client, and then to another client. I did not look left or right, because I knew if I did, I would just stop. I can't compete with award-winning Hollywood actresses who, you know, who's been in the business, classically trained, does opera, been on stage, done theatre. I can't compete with that. You know, that would have frightened the life out of me.
Well, I think you can. You just have to find what, you know, you just have to level the playing field a little bit and figure out, okay, what do I bring to the table that they don't have? Well, where's my niche?
Yeah. That happened, I think, more in year 2, when I was already finding I was getting a nice steady income. You know, I felt like I was getting paid my value where I was at the time. And then I started to reach out to more agents and agencies, because I got braver then, because I thought, oh, I'm getting all these, you know, SMEs booking me. I'm going to start going to the professionals. Because, you know, small, medium enterprises, they don't know about the world of creativity. They just want the job done.
Exactly.
If you can read over some training material, if you can read over some e-learning stuff, great. They just don't want the hassle. But once you start reaching out into the creative agents and the directors and the creative directors, they know the playing field. So that's when I thought, right, okay, I feel like I've built up some confidence now. So I'm going to take what I have, and then I'm going to start asking some questions over the other end, and talk to some professionals. And oh my God, I mean, it knocked me for 6, because I think I had maybe 4 or 5 replies that basically said, you know, you're nowhere near ready. You are nowhere near the standards of the type of actresses that we are used to, that we're used to working with. You don't have this XYZ technology, blah, blah, blah. And I did take a real knocking, because I was thinking, oh God, but I've been self-employed for a year doing this successfully, making, you know, $3,000-4,000 a month. It's good money, right? And this is something that I just started doing. But then these guys are telling me, oh no, you can't go out to work like this. I would never put you forward. So I'm like, oh my God. And I went into this like space of, what was I thinking? Who did I think I was? And, why didn't I look at the competitors? Who am I to contact these people who've been in the industry and say, hey, hire me, I think I'm amazing. But I tell you what, that criticism really helped me do. It gave me everything I needed to push forward. Where was I, what was I lacking in technology? What about my voice training that came across so obviously to them that was insufficient? So that's what I did. I invested in my studio, in my equipment. I took on a vocal coach. I paid more money for my demos because it was all self-produced before. And then I recontacted the same people because I'm not embarrassed. And I'm like, well, listen, I took on board everything you said, and ta-da!
I'm back.
I'm back. But you can't be shy about these things, because if it's financial freedom you want, and if it's freedom working for yourself that you want, you can't just be, you can't have the first setback and go, oh my God, they are right. If you spent your whole time listening to other people, you will never get anywhere. And
well,
it's not even.
I love this.
Right?
I absolutely love it, because I think that, we normally wait till the end to kind of get the microcourse section, but in essence, what you've done is you've woven a multitude of these in the entire interview itself. But the thing I love about this is that these are universals. The things that you're mentioning, it's not necessarily in the voiceover space. It's in any space. It is overcoming that imposter syndrome. It is overcoming the voice in your head. It is overcoming the whole idea that, who am I to do this? And somebody is actually questioning my right, in essence, to operate in this space. And I have, you asked me how many interviews we've done on A Rising Tide. I think, we're really close to 100. And I think that this is the first time that when I asked the question about, who you looked at, who was kind of your inspiration or your role model or whatever, that you said, I looked at nobody, because I didn't want to have that in my head that I can't compete with them.
Yeah.
What a great answer.
Oh, really?
You left my little blank, you left it blank on my little notepad here, but what a great answer, because that is so true. How many people would look at that and just stop at the first hurdle and say, you know what, I can't compete in this space.
Yeah. No way.
You're like, compete in your own space.
Yeah.
You're really, the competition is who you were yesterday.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So
absolutely.
Let me drive a little deeper, and you're gonna have to give me an answer in one of these questions, because I can't. My type A here is really driving me crazy. I can't have all my blanks empty. But is there a life quote, or just a one thing you may have taped up on your computer that says, hey, I got to read this every day. This is something that is an affirmation or something that really drives me, in essence. It's kind of like my, if I had a life mantra type thing.
You know what? My kids and I, we have this appreciation thing that we do every evening before we go to bed, where we just say, because, children also have bad days, right?
Sure.
So we just have a little discussion about what was challenging today. What do you think you overcame? And then we appreciate something. Just, really enjoyed my dinner tonight. Thank you, Mummy. Or, I loved the fact that my friend did whatever. And for me, my mantra is always, whatever situation you find yourself in, and it can change on a daily basis, it can change on a weekly, whatever, you might find yourself at a crossroads in life or some kind of crisis point. But I think if you can just find appreciation in it, it just gives you that peace. It doesn't matter. Just appreciate that, there's people worse off, or things always change. Things don't stay the same. This doesn't last. Nothing lasts. Even the great stuff doesn't last.
Right.
And just take that one thing. It doesn't matter how small, that you had a meal. Thousands of people don't have things like that. For me, that has always kept me going. Always. I can't appreciate enough. I'm so grateful for clients that come back. I'm so grateful for people like you who reach out to me and find me interesting. I'm so grateful for anyone who turns around and says, oh, what do you do for a living? Because at the end of the day, who cares? Who cares what we do, right? Who cares where we are? Who cares where we go? When you're not happy and when you can't see, where the light's coming from, where this happens, really doesn't matter what you do, does it? Or how much you've got, or whether you're in this job or that job. Actually, it's the ones who I find appreciate more. They live a much they have a much simpler time in their mind, and they just have a lovely, calm, peaceful, simple life. Like that's my number one mantra.
Kind of the
It's not
attitude of
exciting.
gratitude.
Yeah, it's not very exciting, but it's
no, absolutely. Yeah, like you this is yours. This is what in essence drives you. And so, as if you could look back a few years ago, so what would be one piece of advice that you know, say you said you kind of done this 4 years ago. So what is one thing you know today that if you knew back then 4 years ago, that would have been like one line would have been a game changer for you? I wish I would have known this 4 years ago.
oh gosh. It's a difficult one. I don't know. I had a friend say to me when I first started, and he said, I believe in you, even if you don't believe in you. And I think sometimes that's just how it is. Sometimes you surround yourself with people for whatever reason, see what you don't see. And then they just keep giving you that little, you can do it, you got it. And then eventually you believe because they're so convinced and they've convinced you that you're like, oh, okay, I am doing it. And yeah, okay, I am. I don't really have a line, but I'll never forget that. It was one of my very, very best friends, Aaron, who I met doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I gave him this idea, you know, this is what I'm going to do. And I think I'm going to be all right at it. And he's American from New Jersey. I said, will you teach me how to do the American accent? Because he was one of my first, like, you know, accent coaches. And I mean, my accent was awful. I mean, it's not amazing now, but I get paid.
No, it really is. I heard you on one right before that we turned the camera on. So yeah.
I mean, I get paid doing American accent work, which is something that I remember thinking I'm going to start offering American accents as part of my repertoire. And I remember saying to Aaron, maybe that's just silly. You know, why would people want to hire me, a Brit, when there's thousands of American women that they can just ask, just to read something?
We would rather hear the British accent, though. I hope for the security system in Florida, I hope that you're the British.
No, it was American.
No.
It was an American accent, but I'm always surprised that someone would pay me. And I have asked clients before. I've just said, out of curiosity, why have you hired me to do the American accent when there is literally tens of thousands of American voice actresses that you could have used? And they just said, you were recommended, you're reliable, we've heard your voice, we like your voice, you're easy to work, all these not usual things. And that's the thing. People buy people. They just think they don't want the hassle, they don't like the thing that they don't know. But yeah,
it was. You say knock for six, or you say Zed, and even in an American accent, we won't know what you're talking about. So, we don't know this a cricket metaphor. We don't know that it's Zed instead of the letter Z. So right. Yeah.
Well, I did a lift in a shopping mall in Dubai, a lift system. So literally, level 1, level 2. This is level 3. And the client couldn't decide on American or British. And in the end, he said, I've never thought of a Middle Eastern accent. He was like, could you do a Middle Eastern accent? I was like, you don't want to lift that speaking, Middle Eastern accent. I think stick to American and but I didn't want to say, I can't do a Middle Eastern accent. Stick to the 2 that I'm offering you.
That's right. You've got enough to choose from.
That's exactly right. I honestly have clients that do all sorts of things. I recently did one who makes combustible safety. I don't even know what he does, but it speaks to the engineer, press this button. And so it's like a step-by-step IKEA style technology to teach people how to make these combustible engines. And I'm fascinated. So you no longer need to go and get trained in person for this. You can just press a button, and as you're building stuff, this voice talks you through it. Now insert red wire into the type of work I do is so varied. It's fascinating. People are thinking, oh, it must be commercials and radio and ads all the time. Yeah, of course, that's the glamorous side, the stuff that you see on TV. That's all the glamour work. But oh my goodness, the breadth of work that's in voice, it's phenomenal. And I'm very lucky to be, like you said, work comes in. I used to audition, but I don't audition anymore, very, very rarely, only if I'm asked to. And I have found myself in that very lucky situation where I can pick and choose the clients. I have blocked a few clients before because I just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
It's just like, forget it.
Well, you got to that point. So, and speaking of getting to that point, this is the one that we've been waiting on. So
yes.
This is, that we've kind of led to this whole idea of the Rising Tide micro course segment that we were talking about a little bit about off camera, but this is where I step out of the way and get out of the way, and you become the professor, and you kind of speak out of your area of expertise. And, the next few minutes, just share whatever you want to share that you think would be a real good takeaway for our audience here near the end of our chat.
Okay. So I was thinking at the beginning, whether I should share something that's voiceover specific for you guys out there. But then I thought, you know what? I think you guys are watching this with having in mind, you've always had that feeling that you're meant for more, or there's just something else that you could be doing. There's this, you're not, either you're not living your true, living and working your true passion or being your true self, or you just found yourself trapped in your situation. So I thought I would choose the topic where, so I do a little bit of coaching work. And no matter how long someone's been in that business, and I coach writers as well as voiceovers, or freelancers trying to, either establish a foothold, about to make the leap, or, are in it, but they're not getting the traction that they want. I found that there's always this common thread. They may have challenges in terms of getting work or finding the right type of clients or knowing what to charge. All these are just what I call the symptoms, because all these questions, if you do a bit of research, a bit of Google, ask some questions, you'll be able to answer. But what happens is you create these, I suppose, challenges for yourself, in order to tell yourself to back off from this idea that you think you're going to be successful from this. So my micro course would be getting out of your own way. And it sounds very easy to say it, because it's like, oh, well, I'm not in my own way, I'm trying this, I'm trying that. But actually, every time you come across a challenge, and every time, someone criticizes something that you've done or you've not done, what you self-talk to yourself, oh, I'm not worthy, or oh, maybe I can't do this, or I knew this would happen. Someone's going to find out that I'm actually no good at this. What was I thinking? This type of self-talk is what just maintains you and keeps you down, or keeps you where you are. And that's got to go. And I think the minute you recognize that, you can then really start to change the kind of conversation that you have with yourself, the whole mindset, and the relationship you have with what value you place in terms of what you bring. A lot of people I ask when they say I'm not earning enough, okay, what do you want to earn? And I say, oh, well, my rent is $800. My food bill is about $350. So that takes us up to like, $1,100 or whatever. And then I've got, obviously bills to pay, car, phone, that takes you up to $2,000. And then, yeah, a holiday here and there. So I need to earn $2,500 a month. I was like, okay, so that's what you want. You want $2,500, but that leaves you with nothing. What happens if something breaks? Or what happens if, you need extra healthcare? And, what if, $2,500 is not your value. It's what you need to like sustain the lifestyle that you have now. But in terms of growth, and in terms of, really getting forward, like moving forward in life, that's not enough. If that's what you're telling me you need to live, that's not going to get you anywhere. Oh, but no one's going to pay me any more than that, because if I'm charging one client this and one client that, And that's exactly the conversation people have over and over again. They place a certain value from, I don't know where it comes from. Maybe their peers, maybe something someone's told them once, you know, in the past 10 years ago. Maybe their parents only ever earned a certain amount of money. So they've kind of boxed themselves in. And I've been in that situation myself too, where I've, you know, asked a client for more, and then back down the minute they gave me any kind of resistance. Oh yeah, you're right. You know, what was I thinking, asking for a little more than that? So it's like, I don't truly believe that I'm worth that either. And the minute you change that, you know, there's a book called Money Grows on Trees by Jeremy Newson, who's a new mentor of mine, who helps me a lot with my trading and also my money mindset. Money does grow on trees. We all have the same opportunity to pick the fruit, to grow the money tree. But for whatever reason, many of us don't, because we don't believe we're worth it. Or we come up with loads and loads of challenges. Oh, because of this, and because I live in this country, and because I don't do that, I don't have this is all put upon yourself. And that's something, I think, if you can just get out of your own way, try and look at the context of whatever it is that you want to do from a very objective point of view. You know, what are the real challenges? Not challenges that you're placing on yourself, but, you know, maybe, I don't know, say you're a mechanic and you want to go self-employed, or you don't want to work for the company anymore. You know, you need to try and find your edge, you know, and it always comes from your past. You know, Kevin and I was talking about this before. People try and scrub away their past because they think, oh no, I'm starting afresh. I'm going to be, you know, this new thing. I'm changed now. I've transformed. I'm no longer the accountant, or, you know, I'm no longer the secretary, or whatever. But I think if you recognize that everything that you've done up to this point is an asset for you, that experience it's individual to you. You know, you have organizational skills, or you have skills with technology or detail. You know, you need to bring that into the present and make that a package. And that package is absolutely unique. There won't be anyone else like it, even if there are 10,000 hairdressers in your area, or beauticians, or, you know, whatever. You know, there won't be a beautician that was a singer, or, you know, it's you've got to understand that the value of you, firstly, is unique, and secondly, is priceless. You cannot put a value on it. You cannot say, I'm worth $2,500 a month. You don't know until you've really started to move forward with things and see.
Man, I love that. I love the whole idea that, you know, your value is not the amount of bills that you have to pay.
No.
You know, your value is not the voice that you hear inside your head. Your value is not the experiences that you've had leading up to this, you know, bad experiences or whatever that's kind of boxed you in. But this whole idea of, you know, just seeing things from a different perspective and a new light. And, you know, just really understanding what your value is, and the unique contribution you have to give. And just an amazing way that you capture that for us. And what a great micro course, the Rising Tide micro course we have here at the end of our chat. But as we wrap up today, I mean, I could continue to ask you questions all day, but is there something that I have not touched on that you want to just, you know, very briefly just kind of wrap up with, and then tell people, if they want to learn more about Vonnie Lee, where's the best place to find that?
Well, if this is going out on Facebook, so I'm guessing we're probably going to be tagged in together. So you can always just click on the link with my name on it and send me a message if you've got any questions for me. I always try and help. I do have quite a big network of, you know, entrepreneurs or business owners. So if there's ever something that someone's thinking, oh, you know, I'm just thinking of this idea. There are so many groups. I don't know, Kevin, do you have a group that you invite?
We do. It's mainly made up of former guests on Rising Tide, because we're trying to build this kind of inner network type thing. But
there you go. So you're joining a group like Kevin
too, for sure.
Yeah, so joining a group like Kevin's is really useful, because I think once you start surrounding yourself with people of that mindset, again, we touched upon this when we were talking off air. I don't think I would have continued kind of my self-employment journey, if you like, because I've not worked for a business since I was 23, 22, for a very long time, because I surround myself with lots and lots of business owners. Every single one of my friends own a business. So it's the norm to have a business, fail a business, start a business, don't start a business. Within our peer group, it's not seen as strange. It's not seen as anything that radical. It's the norm for us. And I think that if you just have that inkling and you think, I've always wanted to do that, and I don't know, I've got a little bit of money saved aside. And I think actually this is something I would like to touch on, actually, Kevin, just in terms of something we haven't covered. And that's, we don't know how to qualify investing in ourselves. We will pay for the car. We will pay for the holiday. We will pay for the handbag, the shoes, the meal out. But my goodness, when someone offers you some education that is going to really help move your future forward, we go, oh, we haven't got money for that. I'm broke, It's crazy. Everyone has $1,000 for an iPhone. But if I say to you, if you invest $1,000 here, and I'm not saying with me, I'm saying here, this is an education system. It's going to help you really understand how to, do digital marketing, or, do Facebook ads and start to really get your business going. Oh, I don't have the money for it. I mean, that just drives me nuts. That really does. Because if you don't invest in yourself, if you don't keep topping up your educational knowledge and having that edge, how do you ever expect to know anything? You can get stuff for free up to a point, and then you've got to get some experts in who's just, I guess one of the reasons I got here as quickly as I did is because that's what I did right at the beginning. I recognized straight away, right, if I'm going to get anywhere, I'm going to need to pay for this expertise. Someone who took 10 years getting to here, I took 3. What was the shortcut? A bit of investment, a bit of money.
Yeah, and we don't value things that are free. We don't see value in them either intrinsically. So
I love
how many free courses?
Yeah, I
download and don't do them.
Yeah, and I YouTube free stuff all the time. How to do this, how to do that.
Right.
But if you really want to become an expert in something and really get there quicker and quickly, really learn a skill, you've got to invest. But yeah, every time I say, if you got, in fact, I spoke to my friend 3 days ago and she was complaining, I'm so broke, I'm so sick of it. Every time I earn, everything goes out. And I was like, well, babe, didn't you just buy a new phone the other day? How much was that phone? £1,000. £1,000. I can buy you a 1-year course doing something that will set you up a skill for the rest of your life. Well, you can buy 10 iPhones then.
Sure.
But no, I've got to have the iPhone.
We live in a microwave society, for sure.
Oh,
we want it now, and we don't want to wait for it. We don't.
I'm on like this crusade.
I could see you. We got you all riled up there.
It does. Because when my children ask me for things, and I said, you know what, I'd rather buy you. So I'd rather buy them, like, say, a weekend. So instead of like a big present of something, I'd rather get them like an afternoon chocolate making course or pasta making course or something, some kind of skill. Because I think, what are you going to do with that? You're going to play with it for a little while, and that's £50 down the drain. And that's it. You won't ever think about it again. Whereas, if we go and learn about the cocoa bean and how chocolate's made and where it comes from, and, you have a skill then, haven't you? You become a much more interesting human, I think, anyway. But that's just me.
I think we have found her interesting buttons here. As we're near the end of the chat here, we push more buttons, and we're just going to have you on again next week so we can continue our chat about
so if anyone relates, please message me, because it just drives me crazy.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And its whole design is that we're supposed to try to drive deeper into your psyche, throughout the chat here. So I think we've arrived at the kind of the core of the focal point.
I think you have found it.
We found home base here. So.
Well, Vonnie, it's very lovely. Thank you.
Hey, it has been great. I am so grateful for you taking the time today, and it's just been great connecting and just hearing your story. And And I just want to we're grateful. Our listeners are grateful for, people like you taking the time to share your expertise, through our micro course, and more broadly than that, just throughout the entire interview, just how you kind of, open your life up as a book to us. And just thank you for playing your part in helping all boats rise on a rising tide. Vonnie, have a great day.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. Bye, everyone.